Well, hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a great day. I really wanted to just let loose with some watercolor, grab my brush by the very end, and just make some fun marks. And I hope you join me today to do this. So I grabbed my Melion palette, and I am working very, very wet today. As you can see, it's very flowy. And I'm just making some fun marks, and I wanted to try some reverse doodling or reverse coloring. And it's something I didn't really know that there was a name for, but basically you make some abstract painting marks, practice some mark making, make some blobs, whatever you want, and then you try to find some images in it. And then you kind of trace those out or you doodle. That's my understanding. And I've done some things like that on my channel, but I'm not sure if at that point I had known that there was actually a name for that. So it's very interesting. And if you haven't heard of that yet, well, today's your lucky day. Now you know. But I have a very wet paper. I've got the back end kind of tilted up just a little bit so that all my water flows down toward me. And I'm even hitting it with the spray bottle a little bit. And I love how that color just moves together on the page. So I'm going in and playing with my brush, and let me see. I've got my palette right here so I can tell you the colors. All right. I am working with violet red and also madder red. And I'm also going to throw in some Prussian blue a little bit later. And those are the only three colors I'm working with today. It's a very limited palette. And I'm also playing with some texture with blotting and just playing with some different techniques. So I grabbed a little paper towel to blot up some of the leftover moisture at the bottom of the page. And then I was like, well, what the heck? Let's just kind of rub it around a little bit and see what happens. And I love the marks that were left behind. So there we are. So I go back in with my paintbrush and add some more color to the top. And I'm not thinking of where my brush is going. I'm not thinking of any shapes or anything right now. I'm just having fun with color and my brush. And that quill brush is actually the one I got on my Temu haul a long time ago, and it has become one of my favorite brushes. I use it in most of my videos if you are a longtime subscriber. So highly recommended. The quill brush, it holds a ton of water. As you can see, I can dip a ton without having to put more water on it, and it's really nice to use. It comes to a really nice point at the end so you can get detail work also. And you can look at me just waving my brush around like a maniac. I really did have fun doing this one, so just let a little bit loose, and I really like how this one turned out. Hope you'll stay till the end to see the final doodle. And I speed up the doodle a little bit for you, but it was one of my favorites. But I might say that about a lot, so I don't know how much stock you can put into that. Take it with a grain of salt, but everything's my favorite. I like it all. So I'm just going in with that dark color. And you know what? It might actually be, I think it's Payne's Gray, not Prussian Blue. So sorry about that. But I'm just putting it in a few little areas, kind of picking out some of those edges that happen naturally and just adding a little bit, but not, I don't want to overwhelm the page with darkness. I just want to add a little bit for extra contrast in some of the spots on the page. So most of my paper was still wet, and I had put it on, and you can see where it spread out in the still damp paper or the damp paper, and some of it had harder lines still from where it was still, or where it was a little bit drier. So I like how it dried for that first coat. So I'm going back in, and looks like I lied again. I'm going in with some green, some olive green, and putting in just a few little spots on there. And I want it to be kind of blended with the first layer, so I will kind of make my shapes and then I'll go back in and just kind of sweep it out a little bit and get the edges moist so that they soften. I didn't really want any hard green edges, and I only put the green in a couple of spots on the page, and I try to keep it pretty light. I don't want to take over the reds, but it does do a good job neutralizing some of the area and just toning it down a little bit since I'm using a complementary color. So, on another note, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. I was just recently looking at my channel stats, and as of today, which we're getting toward the end of March, I'm up to 30,000 views on my channel to date. And I just can't believe that that's happened. I started this channel last July with my very first post, and I think I have improved since then. The video quality on my first view was pretty poor, but I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you who have visited my channel, who have subscribed, and left comments and likes and shares, and some of the posts that I never expected to get so many views have. And so I just wanted to say what an awesome thing this has been to be on the YouTube community with so many awesome people. And I hope that you have found some tips or tricks or ideas from my video. And if you have, I would love to hear in the comments below if there has been something that you've liked, that you've seen in particular. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. So I'll go back to what I'm doing on screen right now. I am starting in with my doodles. My 2 layers of paint have dried, and so I grabbed my microliner and I'm just going around and round making these flower petals. Now, I know what you're thinking. Flowers, it's almost like it was planned because I love doing them. But honestly, I was sitting and looking at the paper and not really sure what to draw, but they just kind of popped out at me. So I saw 3 in the blobs and I kind of put them together. And you know how I love the sketchy, scribbly flowers. So I'm just going around those petals and darkening them with each little line that I'm adding, and adding some texture with that fine liner. And then I'm adding stems and leaves to a couple of them. And this ended up being one that I really enjoyed doing. I just, was taking it easy and just going very loose with everything and having fun. And this was a really cool experience to try to pick out shapes. It's almost like when you're a kid and you're looking up at the sky and you try to see what the clouds look like, and just pick out, pictures that you see. And it's interesting how the brain works trying to put together patterns or make sense of something. And so this was what it turned into for me. And so now I'm putting in some of those dots that I love so much in the centers of each flower. And as I go on, I'm just kind of thinking to myself how I can add just some more variation in the petals and add some more detail so that they stand out more. Like right now, I'm drawing around them and I'm adding some lines and detail, but it's just not really popping out at me enough from the background paint. So I'm just thinking to myself as I'm putting in my dots what else I can do to just add some more detail or texture to the flowers. So I started drawing in some kind of petals, and then it kind of turned into these scribbly long loops. And I just kind of relaxed and let myself go with the pen and started speeding up on the way. And I thought that that was really the right decision. It added some more detail, some more scribbles, but they had a purpose, and that was to really make that flower stand out from the background. And it added some extra texture to the page too, and it didn't really cover up the paint in the background, which I really like. So I'm just going around and finishing up those flowers. And then I'll just kind of do another double check and then see what else I want to add. And this is sped up about 2 times, by the way, just so it's easier to watch and probably more entertaining that way. So I grabbed my jelly roll because, we need the highlights, and it's one of my favorite things to add. And that, I think, was what really made those flower petals pop out from the page. It's like it changed the whole doodle when I added the white on the paint background, and I really fell in love with it. And I just kind of go around just like I did with the black marker or black pen, and making those same sort of squiggly lines and doing it a couple of times around to give it just that extra sketchy look. And then I end up filling in that little bottom of that flower so it stood out more, that it was like a side profile of the flower. And then my final touch is going to be adding in some of those dots in the centers. But wait, there's more. I have been falling back in love with my gold watercolor paint lately. So once I do these last couple little lines, I go back into my palette to that gold, and in this it's royal gold, and it has a really nice sparkly look, and it does get quite opaque if you get it nice and wet. So I'm adding in some dots to some of those open areas with my thinner brush. It's my smaller round, and I'm trying to pick a couple of different areas where there's not really anything going on, just to add a little bit of sparkle and extra interest. And at first I was keeping it inside the paint, but one thing I've been liking lately is to let those kind of flow outside so that everything isn't quite so contained in the paint borders. So I think that really does something special to it too and makes it look nicer. But we'll get this close-up going for you so you can see everything in detail. And this was a lot of fun. I really, really hope you try it. Just let loose with your brush, grab it from the end where you have less control, and just go to town with your water and paint. And I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I love making these for you, and thank you again for all your support. And until next time, keep creating.